Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm filming another books I've read episode, part of the series. I've done like 3 or 4 of them now. So anyways, I'll try not to explain too much if you've already seen it, but basically I just show you the past 4 or 5 books I've read. Sometimes I read them all in like a month, other times it takes me 2 years. Just kidding, just kidding. So anyways, without further ado, let's just get started. The order of least recent to most recent, or I don't know. But anyways, the last book I read was How to Graduate Debt Free, and it's by Christina Ellis. And she also wrote Confessions of a Scholarship Winner, because she won like a Coca-Cola scholarship, and she graduated from Vanderbilt. And she's been on a bunch of like shows, like daytime talk shows, I guess. And she earned her master's from Belmont. And basically she's kind of like the Dave Ramsey of college, I guess. But so she wrote this book, How to Graduate College Debt Free, and I found it at a Ollie's bargain outlet, and I got it for like $2 or $3. It wasn't that much. I was like, hey, why not read it? Because I'm trying to not take out any loans while I'm in college, which would be nice. We're on the right track right now, so hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully. So anyways, it talks about the best strategies to pay for college. So I read it, and to be completely honest, I kind of knew most of the stuff she was already talking about. And I obviously do not have a Coca-Cola scholarship, so I didn't get that much money from scholarships like she did, because she was talking about how she's been saving up for college since like forever, kind of thing. And so she already had like a little, something going on for her already. But so I read it, it was fine, it kind of just affirmed what I already knew, so I was like, hey, I'm on the right track, I'm doing most everything I can, basically, kind of thing. So it was okay, like for me, like for somebody who has like no clue, because I've done tons of research by myself. If somebody doesn't have any clue, like they're completely like have no idea what to do, this is a good book to read. But if you already like have a little bit of knowledge, you could probably be fine without reading this book, but it's still a good book to read, The next book I read, don't laugh, don't judge, was Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it's her memoir of she took a year and she traveled the world. She spent 4 months in Italy, 4 in India, and 4 in Bali. So she ate in Italy, she prayed in India, and found love in Bali. That's basically the best way to put it. But they made this a movie with Julia Roberts in it, and I watched the movie before. So I've read the book, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. And did I think about taking a gap year for a year and traveling? Yes, I did. What did I end up going through with it? No, but I think it's a fun like concept, like taking a year off and traveling and things like that. But it was really fun. She's a really good writer, and I just felt like I was on the trip with her the whole time. So I was like, I'm in Italy. No, just kidding. But it's a really interesting book to read if you're ever into that sort of thing. It's a fun memoir, and it's interesting, and it's not like reading a romance novel, So I highly enjoyed it. The next book I read after that was Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, and it's a book about a expat, and he's living in, I believe it was, yes, he was living in Paris, and he was like a journalist, and it was about like his circle of friends, and they like all end up in Spain to watch the bullfight. It's really fun. So I enjoyed it. Ernest Hemingway is a really good writer, so it's always interesting to read. I like this better than The Old Man and the Sea. Like The Old Man and the Sea was a kind of like a long for me anyways, like a long book to read. Like I just didn't enjoy reading it as much as this kept me more entertained and like more excited to read what was going on. So I highly enjoyed this book a lot, and I totally recommend it. I don't know if it's a movie. I feel like it should be made into a movie because I would totally watch it. So good. Like I already have a cast planned out in my head and everything. It's really good. The next book I read is called A Woman's Place, and it's by Caitlin. I believe her last name is pronounced as Beatty, but she is the editor of Christianity Today, and she's the youngest and first female editor of that magazine. Is it E-Magazine? Like if it's on the internet, I can't remember. But basically talking about, you know, women's roles and like, you know, women with careers, homemakers, and kind of like how the concept of a homemaker came to be as kind of like an occupation, you know, and basically because in the Christian religion, it's typically considered like, you know, that a woman's place is in the home and that her job is basically to raise kids, you know? So I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy 100%. And I read this book, and it basically talks about, you know, women don't have to be homemakers. They don't have to be have a career in like the business world or, you know, entrepreneurs or anything like that. Or, you know, they can be both. Like, you know, it was really interesting to read, and talked about the importance of, it talks about roles of like men and like how fathers aren't just babysitters. They are supposed to be invested in their children and stuff. It was really, really interesting, and people might think it's a feminist book, but I don't think it is. So I think it was really interesting, and it talked about different women, and, you know, some women began their careers and stopped them after they had kids. Some, you know, picked up after their kids were older. Some didn't have careers until later on in life. It's just a really interesting book. So I highly recommend this and picking it up and reading it if you ever find it in a bookstore. It's really good. The next book I read was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and it's a Hulu series that's really popular. I personally haven't watched it, but I found this book on sale at Target, and I was like, I have to read it, because she has a show on Netflix based on her book Alias Grace, and I watched that, and it was really good. So I was like, you know, who knows, let's pick up a Margaret Atwood book. So I did, and it's so good. It's a dystopian novel, so it's not for the faint of heart. So if you like dystopian novels, I feel like you would like The Handmaid's Tale. But it was super interesting. She's a great writer. Like, she's on like C.S. Lewis level. Like, when I was reading it, I was really captivated, and I could picture the book like so vividly. Like, she painted such a good picture, and her writing style is so good. I was like blown away. She, you know, like above all my expectations. It was really, really good. So now I'm kind of afraid to watch the TV show because I love the book so much. But anyways, it was really, really good. So if you love dystopian novels, or if you're into like that weird stuff, like, I don't want to call this a weird book, but, you know, like, it's a really good book to pick up. It's really interesting. So it made me think, like, the whole time I was like shook the whole time I read it. So it was really good. I can't get enough of this book, and this is definitely a book that I would reread, and I typically don't reread books that much. I only read them once and then I'm done. There's very few that I've read multiple times. One of those being The Help, but yes. So the last book in my repertoire is the Jojo Moyes, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. It's called Paris for One, so it has that book, and then she had like 4 or 5 short stories in the back after the book was over, and I was reading it. I was like, why did I pick up this book? I got it on sale, obviously, but I was just reading it the whole time and was rolling my eyes because I felt like this was something I would have been obsessed with when I was 13, but so I wasn't a really big fan of Paris for one, but the short stories weren't. My card ran out while I was filming, so I switched it out real quick. But basically, what I was saying before it ran out was that Paris for one was kind of a little cringy. I was like, wow, really, Emily, your book, you know, you went from the Handmaid's Tale to this, wow. But the short stories weren't actually that bad. I thought they were actually pretty good. She's like a decent writer. I wasn't, you know, blown away by her writing style or anything. I know her, if you've ever seen the movie Me Before You, she wrote that book. I haven't read it though. And personally, after reading this, I don't know if I would actually pick it up because I was just kind of like, really? But it wasn't a bad book. Like, if you're into romance, I'm sure you would like it. But, like, I was like, really? But it's okay. It was fine. It wasn't that bad. But anyways, that completes this video. Be sure to give it a big thumbs up and comment down below if you read any of the books I mentioned, or you can recommend me a book. I always am open for suggestions. And be sure to subscribe before you leave. I doubt you'll see any videos like this in the next year because once college starts, I don't know if I'll be reading that much anymore. And I'm definitely not taking my library with me to school. But anyways, I'll see you guys in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.